Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Munch, munch, munch.
Hello and welcome to Daddy Eats Last, where we discuss the challenge of being a man in modern society and swap air fryer recipes. We also talk about whatever the hell any of that means. I'm Kane, and with Ryan, he's just finished his role over in the UK, so he's having a couple of days off. It's just myself and Matthew. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How's your groin? How's your abductor? Yeah, you told me before you gave it a bit of a tweak today on one of your marathon runs.
It did. I had I pumped out 30 last week and I had a sore meniscus, but I got some acupuncture done during the week and that solved that problem. But today's long run, something else flared up. So I'll just take a few days off and then, not what I want, these kind of injuries so close to the end.
An elite athlete and you're getting acupuncture, you're pulling muscles. Any chance Kim's going to rub your abductor? Help it out?
Nah, she stays well away from that.
Oh, mate. How's everything going up in Brisbane, Vegas?
Good, mate. We had a sunny weekend, the first in probably 3 or 4 weeks. It's just been raining and miserable for a fair while. So a lot of sport has been cancelled, but it was back on this weekend. It was, I was mowing some lawns, washing some cars, getting all that kind of stuff done. This afternoon we went back down to the netball courts again and just had a bit of time with the kids, some scootering, and Eloise got a skateboard for her birthday last week, so we played around on that, and it was just great to enjoy some sunshine.
She flicked some ollies.
You know what? She was on there for maybe all of 5 minutes, and then the knee pads were giving her the shit, so she's like, "No, fuck this, I'm getting enough." Yeah,
it's like it's one of those things. You might get a month or two out of it. I said, like, a little fella got a secondhand trampoline for his birthday at the start of the year. I said to my missus, I go, "You will be lucky to get a couple of months out of that before he's bored of it." And like every day now she's like, "Oh, why don't you go jump on the trampoline, buddy? Just jump on the trampoline." He's like, "No, I don't want to." And every time I'm like, I just start up that song by the Hives. Hate to say I told you so. Except I'd love to be able to tell her. So I told her so because like it was so obvious it was going to happen.
You might be surprised though when someone rolls back around. He might jump back in.
Yeah, if somebody comes over, he'll probably jump in it then. But I'd probably jump. I would have got about 3 months out of my trampoline when I was a kid, but there was one of those old school ones without like the big sort of net on it. We'll talk about old school stuff later on in this episode as well. But I eventually just turned it up on its side and used it as soccer goals because the underneath were basically 2 goalposts and like a top bit. So it was awesome for me.
Yeah, that was the best thing about a trampoline, apart from you could possibly die through the springs, but once you figured out how to do that, I did the same thing with bowling practice for cricket. So
yes, automatic wiki.
Many uses. Yes, auto wiki.
Yeah, as a winner, I do like those trampolines. And you're right, like the double bouncing was like that was almost certain death if you double bounce someone on one of those tramps.
Yeah. Nothing but either concrete or grass around you.
Yeah.
The old days.
The olden days. That's what we're going to talk about tonight because you had Eloise's birthday earlier in the week and you sent through a picture of a cake, one of the Women's Weekly cakes by looks of it. Looked like the jelly pool or similar to it.
Jelly pool. It was the jelly pool, yeah. So we're in birthday season, right? To think of it. So we have Eloise May 21, Sam June 6, Mia June 27. So this is the time where it's pretty crazy. So Eloise did have the Women's Day cake, but funnily enough, that was the secondary cake. So
secondary cake? What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, unheard of, isn't it?
What's a secondary cake?
So her birthday was on a Saturday, and one of her friend's mothers runs a cake business, and she does quite a professional-looking sort of job. A bit more professional than my Women's Weekly cakes. But she offered to make the cake for Eloise for her actual birthday party. So first of all, I was a little bit offended because I'm the designated cake maker in the family.
Yeah.
But then I thought, well, I'm getting out of doing a cake here, so I can just not have to, bother. But then that cake she decided to have, the jelly pool cake, was for the Sunday party we had with just the family.
Double party.
Double party. And I don't know how this has crept in to be a tradition in our family now, but technically what happens is they'll have a party with the friends on one day, and then on the next day, they still want to celebrate with family members and things like that. So we have another party. So
that would be surely where you just get the dregs of the party of the day before. So it's up in Queensland. So Kim's family come over. There'd be like a couple of dirty sausage rolls, which they're probably not even serving sausage rolls these days. Like a couple of cocktail frankfurts, which have gone all stiff. yesterday's cake, which is dry as a bone, instead of like you busting your chops to make a jelly cake.
Well, the one saving grace there was we did sort of outsource the party a little bit. So we did go 10-pin bowling. They had a party planner who took care of the kids, so we could just kick back. And I was thinking about having a beer, but no, I had to go running the next day. But I did say to Kim, that's okay. Whatever's left over from the cake, we'll just transfer to the next party. But no, that wasn't an option because this cake was too fancy and delicious to give to the family. So they got the secondary cake of the jelly.
So what happened? Was there leftover cake from party number one?
There was, and to be fair, like to Kim's, to credit, I did say, look, this probably is too good to waste on them. Let's just save it for ourselves. And,
I was going to say, it was too good.
Back in the fridge.
it was too good for Kim's family, but there was some left over, so we put it in the bin.
No, we hid that in another fridge so they wouldn't see it and ask questions. So, and then Sunday night after they left, we just happily chowed that down. So the jelly cake lasted for ages, all week, but the professional cake went quite quickly.
Well, this is what we're going to talk about tonight, the difference between kids' parties now to when we were kids, because there's no way when we were kids it would have been 2 cakes, let alone 2 parties.
Never, no. I remember getting a choice. You can either have a birthday party or you can have a sizable present. And that's gone out the window these days as well. It's pretty much you get both. But apparently I heard Kim saying the other day that up until 10, the kids can have a party if they want. So we've got quite a few more years of these parties. But if you can find one that does sort of outsource, then try and go with that. But mate, back in my day, no, it was, if I did have a party, it was, there was probably a limit on the friends I could have, have the numbers. And that was it. It was 1 cake and mate, that was it. Once the day's over, it's over. It doesn't continue on to another day or a birthday week.
No, a festival, birthday festival.
Festival. That's pretty much what it is. A festival. Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually been to shorter festivals in a couple of days. So, it's crazy. Big Day Out was only 1 day. It wasn't bleak across 2 or 3 different days. Good show. There's the other things, outsourcing birthdays. The most we could ever do when we were young was maybe have McDonald's party. That was about it. You go to McDonald's, you have a McDonald's party, you'd all get like a Happy Meal, even though Happy Meals didn't even exist then. It was just a cheeseburger, small chips, and probably a lemonade or something back then. But that'd be it.
Yeah, you're right. That was probably the only thing. I do remember my brother having a birthday party at like an AMF centre, but even that was, you were still responsible for all the kids. There was no one else coming over and taking the kids from you and keeping them entertained. It was, you might have got a table with some, some balloons and paraphernalia like that, but that was it. Like there was no one, a designated party planner per se.
Yeah, and everything, it's like a comparison now. Like, you go to I take our little fella to a lot of the parties because one time he did play up at a party, and like the next time I took him to a party by myself, he didn't play up. So since then, I've been the designated party boy who takes him to the parties. And, he just stands in the corner, just watching him do whatever activities they're designated to do today. Some of the parties people kind of tee up, like basically outsource, go to a centre or whatever. They're insane. Like, double performers with a lolly bar. Somebody had like a crocodile in a pool, like all sorts of crazy stuff.
Jeez. And your little fella is how old? 5?
6.
6. And they're getting those kind of parties at that age.
Yeah, we had an entertainer here who made like fart jokes for about 45 minutes. Kids thought it was awesome. But like, compared to some of the parties he's been to, like, I don't really care. I'm like, hey, this is way better than anything I ever did. But like compared to some of the parties he's been to, like it's pox.
And it starts from such a young age, even from like first birthdays. Now people are having like sort of big events. Granted, it's mostly adults and sort of little babies not running around anywhere really. But, there's still so much food and beers and, wines and all that kind of stuff. And even just for a first birthday. And I guess from there, it just sort of escalates year on year because I know we've gotten to a bit of a habit of, not so much now, but when the girls or when Mia was quite young, 3, 4, 5, 6, there was, you sort of, I don't know, you felt that you had to beat last year, like against yourself sort of thing. So we'd have a dress up one year, the next year you'd try and work out, how can we do something a bit different, a little bit better? And it just, I don't know, it's a lot of pressure on yourself to try and keep up.
Yeah, and there never used to be that. You do pin the tail on the donkey. You'd have maybe some apple bobbing, a couple of games, pass the parcel with Lucky's dad's rules, which if you've watched that Bluey episode is where, these days, if you do pass the parcel, there literally has to be a present every time it stops and everyone has to have a go. Where back in the olden days, like the 80s, it would literally be whoever got the middle present, they won everything.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, now it's like everyone's a winner.
Yeah. It's just chalk. I don't know if it's better or worse. It is just completely different to, what I remember when I was a kid.
And I think it's only going to get worse as the kids grow up. It might be okay because you've got a little boy, but I've got two older girls. And as they get into their teenage years, I hate to think of what it's going to become then with 16ths, and which is not even really a thing in this country, but apparently it's starting to creep in. And the teenage years, and they're off to high school, so it's a lot more competitive. And you don't want to be the kid that has the crappy birthday party.
No, if you're that age, 16, you can be the party which has alcohol. Like you're the cool family who's, you're 16, you can have a drink or two, and all the other parents will be like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah, and the kids will be like, "This is so cool."
Or you just go kick it old school and just go, "We're going to play spin the bottle."
Yeah.
Not that no one ever did that. Someone get a bottle out and spin to go, "There's no way we're kissing."
We've got, as I said, we've got Sam turning 4 on June the 6th, which is good because he's such a young age. He doesn't really care or know what big parties are really about. So that's going to be a low-key event, and we're getting a friend or two and the family at the one venue. So which means there's one cake and one day. So that'll be a nice breather.
Absolutely. Now, with the girls, do you need to invite all the class? Because you were touching on before when we were young, you could literally, I remember parties and I got to pick like 5 or 6 friends who could come. I didn't have to invite the entire class of say 20, 21 kids. Like, is that a thing now where I've heard and we've been told, like the schools literally told us, listen, if you want to distribute invitations at school, you have to give it to every person. Otherwise, you have to try to work it out yourself. So is that something which happens with the girls?
It has happened in the past, mate. But as they're growing older, it's not such a thing. But grades prep and 1, I remember you spent most of the year at birthday parties because there was 20-odd kids. So more often than not, there was a couple of months. But thankfully, a lot of those were like a park play. You just meet at sort of like a public place, which is a lot easier. So we did have to do that for Eloise and Mia. Eloise, though, because we did go bowling. And
did you go bowling or bowling?
Bowling. Great episode.
Sorry, Simpsons reference.
Yeah, sort of creep in there. If we had have done that with the whole class, I would have had to remortgage the house. So she was allowed to invite 8 people, and Mia's the same. So she wants to go bowling as well. So she'll do the same thing. She'll invite 8.
What you mean bowling? You need bowling out. What was it? 2 games shoe hire, hot dog, fries, and a Coke for $10. It's not $10 anymore. It's probably getting changed out of $50.
No. Change out of $50. No. It's what did they get? They got one crazy game and lunch. That was it. But I think Mia can do that virtual reality stuff.
All right. What's a crazy game of bowling? And what was the sting on that? The bowling per person?
I think the bowling, what was it, 10 kids? So would have been $35 each.
Wow, you definitely got bowled.
Yeah, I did get bowled. The crazy bowling is they just so every kid has sort of one shot, and depending on your score, in this particular game, you'd have a monster on the screen, and they sort of change colours and shapes and all that kind of crap.
Well, that sounds shit.
It does sound shit, but they were screaming for joy and loving it. So
good.
As long as they were happy.
$35 a head. Wow, it's sexy, isn't it?
It is sexy, yeah. Plus present and all that kind of stuff, and 2 cakes. Mate, cakes aren't cheap.
No, even making it yourself like there's a time. It's obviously time, but it's even making your own cakes hard enough.
Yeah.
We had that tradition. I'm changing that tradition this year for me because we had everybody whose birthday it is gets to choose from the Women's Weekly book what cake they're going to make. Our little fella, he's definitely going duck cake. He goes, I've seen it on Bluey. I want duck cake. It's the hardest cake. You're making me duck cake. So we've got until January to work that out. I'm just going to celebration cake from Coles, which is gluten-free. My wife can't eat gluten. I just go, listen, my birthday's on a Thursday. Little fella, you can put whatever you want on it. You want to put Smarties on it, snakes on it, you know, you want to ride on it with icing, do whatever you want to it. That's what I want this year. I don't want to, you know, I like Women's Weekly cake, just takes a lot of time.
Mate, that is a winner. And Mia is actually, bless her, has said this year that's what she wants as well, because a cake from Coles or Woolies and just decorate it with a few lollies. So if you can, if you do that, it's a massive time saver.
I'm going to push that. And my little fella might, instead of duck cake, he might get to December because his birthday is in January. He might go, oh, I want a cake like yours, Daddy. I do duck cake. I do not want duck cake anymore.
If you can get that played out like that.
It's all an elaborate plan, Matthew. It's an elaborate plan that I just try to lead him down the garden path of just being grateful with, you know, just something which is good. Instead of, you know, that sort of top shelf, you need to go to a play center and, you know, have 2 performers and jugglers and baton twirling and all that sort of stuff. So
plant those seeds. I just worry that 6 months between birthdays, he might be.
I might have to keep watering him.
Yeah.
Mate, it is. We've been talking about kids' parties today, so I'll finish with a pun. It's a pun which we can use all the time. That about wraps it up for this week. Let's not talk about presents because that's changed. Remember to subscribe to Dad Eats Last on iTunes if you haven't already. And while you're there, please leave a review. Also, tell your mates about the podcast, especially if they're guys and especially if they like cooking cakes from the Women's Weekly Cookbook. Most of all, thanks for listening. I'll be back next week with another episode, or should I say serving of Daddy Eats Last. How's that for a dad joke? Catch you next week.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.